Namaste and welcome to Live, Love, Engage. I am Gloria Grace Rand and I am delighted to be with you today. We're going to be talking about something a little bit different on the show. We haven't really, well, I think once before we touched about marriage, but today we're going to be talking about actually before you, how you get there is the wedding process and some unique challenges that the year 2020 has posed for couples all around the world. And I am so pleased to have someone from the other side of the world on the program today, someone I met at a mastermind online session a few weeks ago. Her name is Shradha, and she is coming to us all the way from India. So welcome to Live, Love, Engage.
Thank you very much, Gloria, and I am humbled and honored to be on your show. Namaste from India.
Well, we are glad to have you. And um, let me tell you a little bit about Shradha because she is an expert in weddings. She's actually an accomplished relationship coach and who has had success in using her self-designed faith system to strengthen relationships within the corporate and personal world. And she's also an international public speaker who has been trained, mentored, and certified by Les Brown, who is one of the most well-known and influential motivational speakers in the world. I have seen some of his talks and he's amazing. And she's also the author of an Amazon best-selling book called Witness the Breakthrough. And it's through that. And for those of you watching on YouTube, you can see she's holding up the book right now. Well, those of you listening, you won't be able to see that. But she has been coined the esteemed Wedding Shakti after using her relationship strengthening skills to help anxiety-filled couples navigate the stressful journey of the path to marriage. And as someone who has been married over 30 years now. I do remember, though, it was a bit stressful getting that process. And I was sharing with Shradha, yeah, see, I'm messing up your name, Shradha, I apologize. Before we got started, that I actually had two of my nephews this year had planned to be married. One was getting married in June and they wound up postponing the ceremony until next year. And then my other nephew actually did go through with the ceremony a couple weeks ago in Texas. However, we weren't able to fly out there. My husband didn't want to fly to Texas from Florida. So instead, they just had it socially distanced in the church for just the immediate family members. And then they were able to live stream it. So we were able to watch the ceremony, which was nice. But this has been a crazy year, right? Shradha, so how are you helping maybe even some of your clients deal with the craziness of trying to get married during a pandemic?
Yes, and, that's a brilliant question because most couples are coming to me, confused whether this is the right time to marry or not. And all I ask them is, how confident are they about saying yes to each other?
Mm,
If you are confident about each other, about the way you feel for each other, then how important, the next question is, how important is it for you to tie the knot or to walk the aisle? In India, in our Hindu religion, we tie the knot,
mm,
and otherwise we walk the aisle, and everyone has their own procedure of calling it a vow.
mhm,
So step by step we walk through the journey of the importance and surface the fact that the togetherness needs to be intact, because that is being most hit with the pandemic. It's
mhm,
straining the relationship. People are being forced into a long distance, especially for those who are in arranged marriages and for those who are even together, yet their relationships are being strained because the girl is getting pregnant. I have i have had two of these girls who have reached out to me, and they said that they had to abort the child because they could not get married. So it is not easy
mm,
and all that fun. There's a lot of complicated, when you go into the layers of understanding why this is so difficult for the engaged couples or for those who are, looking to even commit. it's a real struggle period for them. And I hope to impart courage to take that decision and to take that leap, to just be together in this phase and walk through with confidence of saying yes with self awareness. And when that creeps in, then no pandemic or any coronavirus can actually hit you and, sort of impact such a powerful thing as a wedding vow.
Mm, yeah, absolutely. Do you, I think it's good that you're able to help couples, and I think it is important for them to really see that, um, to be able to tell for themselves, how committed are they? Number one, to being able to, you're essentially saying, I want to spend the rest of my life with this person. But I wonder, does some of what has been playing in has maybe, or maybe not, how much impact does maybe the, parents have to do with the decision? What are you finding in that, even in normal times, maybe? uh,
A very good question, because Grace, when couples come to me, they are not discussing their mind, their thoughts with their parents. They fear an argument. If they do that, they fear an argument with their parents. So they're not discussing their issues or their, thoughts with their parents. They're not discussing it with their friends
mm,
because of the fear of being judged. And they're not discussing it with their partners because of the, trust issues between them. So when you ask me, for parents, they are playing a very important role. So whether the pandemic is there or not, parents have yet to experience what they have in mind, and they want to do it through their children.
mm,
The research says that most weddings where parents are involved and they are trying to, sort of put their aspirations, their own desires of having such a wedding for their child, is actually that which they could not do for their own. So
mm.
all of that is coming in. And now I ask them the very important question is, who is paying for your wedding? If your
Yeah,
parent is paying for your wedding, then of course they will have their way. And
right.
that's where the self-awareness kicks in.
Yeah, yeah, that is a good point, because I know it is, if your parents are helping out financially, then you do to some extent want to be able to please them, or at least see if you can meet them halfway in honoring some of the requests, that they have, like, what guests to invite. I know, I remember that, having these discussions with my mother-in-law. She's like, "Oh, we have to invite all these people. They're not going to come, but you still got to invite them anyway." And I was like, "Okay, okay."
And that's why, in my coaching sessions, I also tend to coach the parents to align them with the wedding vision of the children that they are getting married, because now everyone can come together and be on the same page.
Mm, yeah, that's so important. Absolutely. It definitely needs to be on the same page. Um, what what are some of the top, stresses that I think an engaged couple goes through when they're, looking to plan their wedding? What have you found?
You'd be surprised, what is the first point of argument after marriage? Do you know that?
Well, I know that money comes in somewhere as one of the issues. Probably either money or children, or some, or probably the
Yeah,
top things.
you'll be surprised. The research says that the first point of argument after marriage is actually wedding photographs.
Ah,
And
okay.
throughout the wedding planning process, it's all about photography, it's all about the photographs, the right shot, the perfect angle, you know, the perfect decor, the perfect day, the perfect attire, everything should just be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
That's all that the couple is talking about throughout the wedding planning experience. And what I do is I transform that wedding planning experience and make it a more romantic and intimate, something that is filled with joy and memories that will last for a lifetime. Then all of these quarrels and squibs and indifference of opinions in the process of wedding planning.
Hmm. That's so interesting, because again, I'm going back to what I went through, and I wasn't, I, that part of it didn't really come into mind, especially, and this actually sort of annoyed my mother right after the ceremony, because she's like, okay, well, what pictures are we getting done? And I was like, oh my God, I hadn't even really thought about that. I'm like, okay, yeah, we got to make sure that I get my mom in a picture with me and, and the other family. And I was like, um, yeah.
That can, everyone I think can relate to this, that the wedding photographs are the most important point of discussion
Mm.
throughout the planning.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and looking back on it now, it's like that should
And
have
that's
been
why
part of it, because that is, and because I have looked back on those photos, over the years, and because it is something that you want to be able to, um, hopefully it was a very good day, and you want to be able to remember that day years later, right?
30 years before, it was a different story at that time. We were very happy to get ourselves clicked, I feel. But now it's become more of a, a social media
Mm,
game kind of a thing. It's more of the likes and the shares. So when I interview the wedding photographers, and when I speak to them, then that time they are sharing all the quarrels and all the conversations, all the discussions that are happening while they're posing. And then the couple, the bride, or they are actually cribbing that, I'm not getting a smiling face, you haven't taken this angle. So
oh,
if you are quarreling, what will the photographer do?
yeah, that's true. Goodness gracious. I want to ask you about this because it is interesting that, um, well, actually, I've got two ideas coming to my head. So let me deal with the first one first. Why do you feel that it's advantageous for couples to actually um, have a coach, have someone like you to be able to help them out, as opposed to perhaps maybe just going through, uh, I know different, or well, for me, I grew up and we got married in the Catholic Church, and we had to attend, like a marriage encounter weekend type of thing to prepare us. Um, but I have a feeling that I think that maybe seeing actual, talking with someone else about the different things, like, saying you should plan ahead for pictures, might have been helpful for me. So, what else? What are some of the benefits that you offer a couple?
There are so many, Grace. The first thing that I would want to mention to them is that what should you be doing in the first week of marriage?
Mm,
Now, those things, those conversations are important now when you lay the foundation. When we are seeking the counsel of consultants, attorneys, lawyers, experts in
mhm,
various fields to ensure success, then why not seek the advice in such major decisions such as marriage?
mm.
And when we know, I just read an article the other day that every 13 seconds there is a divorce happening in America.
Wow.
Every 13 seconds,
Mm,
which means that in the 2 minutes that one is taking a wedding vow,
mm.
9 divorces are taking place.
Wow. That's crazy. That's really sad, isn't it?
And so that is why wedding coaching, because my motto, what I teach is actually take time to say yes.
Mm,
Take time to say yes, and let's have those conversations now. So now you are able to overcome the decision fatigue, which color to wear. That also stresses people. Crowd anxiety. If
mm,
you are having those things, those palpitations, those jittery feelings, let's talk about it. Let's have that conversation.
mhm.
How to get along with your in-laws, how to welcome a new family. Let's
Yeah.
talk about it. Maybe you're not comfortable. Money, which people feel, because we are raised that we should not be talking about money, whereas, like you said, that's also a very major point of argument later.
Mhm,
So like this, the list is endless, Grace.
mhm,
It's just about having that support. And also, earlier we could get along, but now neither is willing to give up. They all have their own mindset now. They're
mhm,
all, and the internet has actually given us this, it's been a blessing too, to give you that self reliance of surviving without anyone. So
Mm-hmm.
now, because you have other ways of interacting and finding that, sort of escape from the relationship. So now you do not want to be with each other just because you have to be with each other. But then later on, they want the relationship back. And that's the loop that keeps going on and on and on. But if you are really one of those who loves your partner, who loves your fiance or your fiancée and wants to work on staying together, because relationship requires work,
Right.
and then why not start right at the very foundation? And that's why wedding coaching, because when I became a coach, Grace, I had this option of just becoming a relationship coach, but
Mm.
I chose this niche because I knew that this is where the foundation could be laid. When I began to coach top CEOs and MDs of Fortune 500 companies, I was actually coaching their better halves, because the hurdle in their business was not their mindset about their uh, work, but it was about what was happening back at home.
Mm.
So let's
Absolutely.
start now in the foundation and build from here.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because, now granted today, things are a bit different and a lot of couples wind up actually living together before they're officially married. And yet I still think the whole um, things still change a little bit. It's like once you are still officially married, because now you have made a commitment to be with someone for life. And so now you need to be able to realize that that's going to just change your mindset a little bit. And if you're not prepared for that, when you start really living together after the ceremony, um, you could have some issues where you're going to have some problems. So I think it is definitely wise to be able to seek out someone like you for some advice on, and maybe even what do you do for, like, the first time you disagree on something, you know?
You just got up a very nice topic, Grace, because when you say about live-in partners, this girl reached out to me from Bristol, from Europe, and
Hmm.
from the UK, and she was in a live-in for 11 years,
Mm.
and she was facing commitment phobia.
Mm.
And for the last year, when she reached out to me, her boyfriend was wanting a breakup, and she
Mm.
was really feeling very low. So her friend recommended her to me, and when she came to me, she wanted to go back to England and sort of be confident to accept whether her boyfriend breaks up or doesn't, because she was running away from the fact,
Mm.
cycling somewhere in the forest in a different country.
Right.
But then after the coaching session, she could, in a few weeks, she told me that her boyfriend was giving her hints to come back
Mm.
and to, let's now solidify the relationship. So at times when you're in a relationship and you are unable to overcome your past relationship, that's when the commitment phobia creeps in, and you are, in that dilemma of whether you should say yes or no. And it gives you that, you know um, liberty to just leave. But
Mm.
then that heartbreak is something that you cannot handle.
Mm. Absolutely. Yeah. Um, so one thing I know what I wanted to ask you before. So, have you, or I guess what's different, besides, or are there any differences, let's say, in you working with couples who are in India where you live, as opposed to working with someone, in the UK like you did? Have you found, are there specific differences, and or are there universal things that come up no matter where anyone lives when it comes to planning a wedding?
Brilliant question, because the language of love, Grace, is the same.
Mm.
And I am serving over 35 countries today, talking to couples, brides, and grooms all around.
Oh.
And all I choose to do is just talk about the language of love. And
Mm.
that is the same. So it doesn't matter. Eventually, if you really feel for your partner, then there is togetherness. And if you don't feel for your partner, then I offer self awareness. So I
Mm.
prepare you. Because every human seeks love eventually.
Mm.
So to bring them there, and why they are not there, to help them acknowledge that, is what I do.
Mm. Very good. That's awesome. Um, what what advice would you have for couples right now, um, maybe that are trying to decide whether or not and I know we talked about this a little bit at the beginning, but again, dealing with the pandemic as we're recording this, it's the end of October, and cases are kind of rising again as we're moving into the winter. So what advice would you have right now for couples who are trying to decide, should we, let's say they were planning originally a year ago thinking that they were going to get married this winter, and now they're thinking, well, maybe we should just postpone it until things calm down a little bit. Um, or just continue on. What are you talking with your clients about?
Gloria, the way coronavirus has literally shut down the wedding industry, now whatever is going to come back is going to be totally new. Weddings will not be the same again. So the sooner we accept that fact, the better for us.
Mm,
Now, even this is going to be a memory. So if you marry in this time also, create that memory.
mm,
Do it with self awareness, do it knowingly, and you want to celebrate. You can celebrate even your first anniversary, you can celebrate your first child, you can celebrate your first success story together, you can
mhm,
go on a lovely holiday trip. In any case, even though you're holding on to it, is what I tell the couples that come to me. It's all about enjoying this moment. Why sulk on this moment? And the pandemic has taught us the shortness of life and the value of it and the value of the relationships. So
mm.
why miss out on this very moment?
That's right.
Why not make the most of that?
Yeah.
Why not enjoy the candlelight dinner today?
Absolutely. And you can always have another party later, which is what, my nephew is planning, is that they're going
And there will come ways, you will find, you will see that lots of couples will celebrate in different ways.
to.
And then also you will have that FOMO. You will say, oh, I didn't do this, so now I cannot do that. So FOMO is something that you will have to put aside and
Right.
just enjoy the now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because the most important thing is do you love the person that you're marrying? Because that's ultimately, you need to be pleasing each other and not worrying so much about, it's nice to include the family, but ultimately that person is who you're going to be living with, and that's who you need to think about them first, right?
In fact, before the pandemic, when couples would come to me and I would ask them, now that you are like, especially the newlyweds, now
Mhm.
that you are coming to me, what happened to all those people who got together for your wedding? Where are they now?
Yeah.
Why aren't they helping you? Why aren't they? Everyone has just left you both alone to bang your heads
Mm,
together, and you all are coming to me. So if you are still waiting to sort of have them around you and strain the relationship, then again, it's your own decision.
mm. That's true. Good advice. Yeah. Absolutely. Um, let's see. Is there anything else, maybe any other advice that you have for, let's say, for family members who really, to be able to encourage them to support a bride and a groom, especially during this time?
The only thing that I would tell the parents and the family of the children who are in this situation is that support them. Again, bring in the love. Where is the love? And let them have their way when so much is conspiring against them.
Mm,
Support them and let them be on their own and decide for themselves. So many couples reach out to me, they say we are ready for an intimate wedding, but the parents are saying no because
mm,
they have a huge guest list that they need to entertain.
yeah.
So I would only say that let love come in and let them be, because already they are facing a lot. So, and again, it's up to them. I mean,
Yeah.
I have no one to tell the parents don't be, because parents have their own point of discussion. They are like, oh, we have waited all our lives, and
Mm,
why we only have this one child, and
yeah.
why should we? But then who is even going to see tomorrow? When such things are happening, you want to live every moment,
Yeah.
don't you?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Because you never know what's going to happen. So it's so important to live in the now, right now, and pay attention to how you're feeling, and to be able to respect the other person. And And that's the important thing.
Yes,
Um,
and just enjoy the joy and the happiness of the child and the family and the ambience,
mhm.
whatever little you little have, because everything is just around you now. You can't even step out of your house.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it's whatever you can do to minimize the stress and just to really, yeah, as you say, to just love them and support them is so important. Um, that's all we can do right now because whether or not there'll be time to do something else later, we'll just see, but for now is, yeah, I think that's really great. If so you work in 35 different countries or having clients. That's amazing.
And counting, and
Wonderful.
counting. I just added to, someone from Ireland reached out to me, someone from Ghana reached out to me. So it's just counting. Yes, last time I counted was 35.
Wow, that's awesome. So, if someone wants to be able to reach out to you for some advice, what is the best way for people to contact you?
Through my social media handles by the same name, Shradha WTB, SHRADHA and my website, weddingshakti.com,
Hmm.
WEDDINGSHAKTI.com.
All right, awesome. Well, I will definitely make sure that I have all that information in the show notes. So um, people will be able to find that if you're listening right now where you can't get to write down that information. Don't worry about it. You'll find it later. And you can go to liveloveengagepodcast.com, and that's where you'll find this episode and all of our previous ones. And I think this has been very helpful. Part of the mission of this program is really to help people to live fully, to love deeply, and engage authentically. And weddings are a big part of that. I mean, that's how people start really, living their lives and being able to, coming together in a spirit of love and joy. And um, so if you can help people enter into that state in a way that is less stressful and and to focus more on the joy of what they're doing, I think is tremendous. So I'm glad that you are out there helping people in that endeavor, because yeah, we like to have more people stay married than get divorced. So
Absolutely, Grace. Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me on your show.
yeah, well, I appreciate having you here and appreciate everyone who is watching and listening. And uh, until next time, I do encourage you all to go out and live fully, love deeply, and engage authentically.